Confucius once said we all have two lives. The second one starts when you realize you only have one. When and why did your second life begin? After having a stroke, I became much more determined to do stuff. I'm much more aware that YOLO. I don't think that YOLO fits the title of the post. You only live each life once. YOLO then. Last week, a co-worker had a gigantic heart attack and instantly died right there in the cafeteria. I didn't know him, so while it was a horrible thing to witness, I'll eventually get over it. What shook me more was the fact he was only in his early 20s, just about younger than me, and wasn't much more overweight than I am. Seeing firsthand how suddenly all my bad decisions can just erase me from existence, and the fact I've had a couple of small chest pains and ignored them in the past, I threw out everything remotely sugary the instant I got home. Edit. Thanks for those who have recommended seeing a doctor. I had already gotten a general checkup appointment just to be safe. It hasn't yet. I'm still young with the dumb mentality that I'm immortal. Wait, people die. So 1 week after being told I have prostate cancer at 47, I decided I needed to get fitter and healthier, but honestly, my heart wasn't in it, and I was on the verge of depression. It's 5:40 AM and I'm idly drinking tea before going to the gym, but I'm 50 over 50 about going back to bed and pretty much giving up on life. Scrolling down Facebook, I see the quote "A man has two lives, one before he realizes he is mortal and one after." I stared at it like it was a revelation. Something I can't describe lifted in me. I drained my tea and went to the gym. Almost exactly 1 year later I'm fit. Officially, I have lost 15 kilograms, with another 13 to go. And 6 mornings a week I row a 10k on a Concept 2 rowing machine, and go to the gym down weights once a week. My last scan showed the cancer hasn't changed one bit in a year, and now will be monitored for 2 years to see if it's stable. If I do need to have it removed, I'm in the best shape for a successful lupus. It's no exaggeration to say this quote changed my life. I'm glad all those darn weights have helped you. I was 41, skinny fat, had a family gym membership that my wife used and my kids used for the pool, but I might have gone 3 times a year. I knew it was hard keeping up with my toddler, and forget about keeping up with my teenager. I rationalized my health by saying I'm okay, I can still wear clothes from high school. My dad had a health scare last year, and seeing him in a hospital bed did something to me. I used the annual free session with a trainer that I usually let expire just to get some confidence. I'm going 4 to 5 days a week now, and have been for nearly a year. Old lady says I look way better naked. The post-workout buzz is better than most drugs, but best of all I legit feel better than I have in a long time the rest of the time, and I didn't even realize the small nagging stuff I had that went away. January 13th, 2018. I was in Honolulu, Hawaii during the false alarm ballistic missile strike. I called my parents to say goodbye and waited for the impact in the basement of our hotel with my fiance. It took way too long for them to correct the mistake and let people know it was a false alarm. We were visibly shaken all day, and upon returning I decided then that I would request 3 months off work for my honeymoon instead of 2 weeks. Traveled the world and remembered how important family is compared to work. I still need to remind myself about it every so often, though, because the grind gets to you. Reading a story like yours makes me realize how horrible that mistake really was. I only heard about it on Reddit thousands of miles away. The worst part was definitely talking to my mom on the phone and saying what I thought may be our final goodbye. I managed to hold it together at the time, but thinking about it makes me cry. When I graduated high school and realized I had no skills, no interesting hobbies, nothing interesting about myself, and that it was no wonder I struggled so much with dating. Spent the last few years changing that. And how's it going now? I'm pretty effing happy. I invested time in hobbies, drawing, learning Japanese, being more social, exercise and dieting, and just generally got out more. Also started buying clothes that actually look good on me, and generally started dressing better. Experimented with dating a bit, and recently something stuck. It was at really low point in my life. I didn't think things could get worse. So many things going wrong. and so many bad choices being made. I was at a point where ending it all was the only option I could see. Upon cutting into my wrist everything was clear. It could be worse, and it will be, but shit, I don't want to die. 56 internal stitches, 15 external, and I'm still here. Things did get worse, but then they got amazing. Glad you're here, man. The first one hasn't even started. Oh, how is it like being in the womb? Tastes like alcohol. When I quit my job 5 years ago and biked across the country, the second I finished I realized that I was forever going to look at life differently. I had been working an absolutely horrendous job, high stress, low pay, terrible hours, all because I needed the experience it gave me for my career. At some point I realized I don't have to be this miserable. Rage quit, bought a bicycle, and cycled across the continental US for 2 months. Found my center and my confidence, and started treating myself better. Met some of the most interesting, most batshit crazy, and most honorable people along the way. Best decision I ever made, and I still treat myself with the respect I feel I deserve. Edit. Real quick edit to share a few more details. Since many are interested, this is not the complete blog, because I just didn't care to keep it up after a while. It does however share my prep and first few weeks on the road. tomshukis.tumblr.com. A dear friend got cancer. Out of the blue and bad. We were 29 and both just hitting our strides in life and work. She was dead 18 months later. It absolutely rocked me to my core, how fragile life is. A close friend of mine got diagnosis with acute leukemia this past weekend, and this really put everything into perspective. We're 20 and studying engineering, and it's just crazy how suddenly everything can go downhill. I suppose when I turned 20. Prior to that I had never thought past that age. Spent a long time stuck in a now what? Phase trying to not have an existential crisis. Eventually went to college, got a degree and now work in the field I studied for. Battled depression and won, and found some of the things I was looking for in life. Starting to figure out what I want from life and what it's going to take to get there. So I guess I started my second life when I got out of my age 20 funk. I grew up super Mormon. My life was dedicated to being the perfect Mormon girl. Church for 3 hours on Sunday, seminary for an hour 5 times a week, mutual on Tuesday nights, service project all day on Saturdays, Book of Mormon study every morning, and for an hour before bed. The church also completely determined what I wore, how I spoke, who my friends were, my political beliefs, etc. The Mormon church is all consuming. They even get 10% of your pre-taxed money. But this is all okay, but this life is just a test. We'll have all of eternity to do whatever we want if we can just dedicate this life to the church. Plus if we don't, you're doomed to an eternity of hell, and you won't see your family in the afterlife. One day I found out the church was all bullshit. All of it. It was started by a scam artist. I went from fully believing Mormon to an atheist in the period of 30 minutes. That was over 25 years ago. I realized I only have this life, and I need to make the best of it. I'm happily married now. I'm raising 3 little heathens and I try to make each day count. The weekends are for being outdoors. When my son was born. Yep, having kids puts everything in perspective. The face of a child can say it all, especially the mouth part of the face. Jack Handy. Meeting the woman who would become my wife. I had been in numerous crappy relationships, mostly because I was childish, lazy, and selfish, and was thoroughly unemployed with only a jet to my name. I had been taking classes at our local community college, but had no specific goal. I was used to ex-girlfriends telling me to get a job and grow up, but this woman was different. She pushed me, but in a loving way. She challenged me to be my best. We got married, right after I got my master's degree. Absolutely none of what I have achieved would have happened without her, and I'm thankful and grateful for this second life.